Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Toss-Up. I'm Riley Woodall. We return to the hardwood this week to talk women's hoops, specifically diving into the 2024 version of Indiana women's basketball and the mountain of questions surrounding the Hoosiers. Plus, we've got picks and predictions for some of the massive matchups in the stacked conference and season slate. It's all next on the Toss-Up. For the past 2 years, Indiana women's basketball has been a juggernaut of talent, development, and senior leadership, with the likes of Allie Patberg, Grace Berger, Mackenzie Holmes, and Sarah Scalia being a few names that have helped build the program into what it is today. But this year is not like the ones before it. This year, the Hoosiers will have to find a different way to play. This year, the Hoosiers will have to uncover a new star. This year, the Hoosiers will have to blaze a unique trail in the absence of the program's all-time leading scorer. It's a new chapter in the history books of Indiana women's basketball. Will it be one of failure and faltering, or will it be one of renaissance and revolution? We've got the answers for you, and I'm joined by a marvelous panel: Kelsey Dennehy, Ari Betterly, and Talia Goodman. Guys, thank you for coming on the show to talk some women's basketball. We're going to jump right into it, and this first question I'm posing to the floor, I did a lot of thinking about how I was going to phrase it, and I settled on this. What do we make of this team through the first 4 games of the season?
Well, it's definitely been interesting. I think we all knew going into the season that there were going to be some moments for adjustment, right? You lose 2 of your biggest scorers, your all-time leading scorer in program history. I don't think we quite realized how many adjustments were going to need to be made. IU hasn't been 1 and 2, and now they're at 500, but before, after the loss at Butler, since 2005.
Yeah.
So I think after those 2 losses, they played Stanford, and things looked a lot more cohesive.
Thanks for looking up. That's
but
good.
It was definitely not what we expected.
No.
I'm going to build off you, Kelsey. I agree. I traveled to the Butler game, and it was just not that Indiana brand of basketball that, fans are used to seeing, or a Mackenzie Holmes style of play. It's got to be completely different. Lily Meister had 4 fouls and had to be out of the game during Stanford, and that kind of changed the way that Hoosiers went about things. Shea Shetsky kind of had her moment to shine, and Yarden Garzone started hitting her threes during that Stanford game. So I have some faith in the Hoosiers. If they play like that, things will get better. And Sydney Parrish said, we're 3 games in. This is not who we are, and we're going to play better. So I think there's an opportunity for them to grow and learn from this, or, they falter and they stay like this.
Yeah, hopefully it's the former and not the latter, right?
Yeah. I got 2 things to say here. Number 1, I think Yarden Garzone will be the key to figuring out the trajectory of this team. If she is playing well, Indiana will be playing well. She is the one player on this team who has the potential to be a star. There are good players. There are, nearly great players. You have Sydney Parrish, Chloe Moore McNeil, who are staples to this team. But Yarden Garzone, when she came in her freshman year, she led the Big Ten in 3-point percentage. She has the potential to be a star, and we saw flashes of it against Stanford. The one thing I'll say, this is not a team that's going to be consistent, and that is what we've seen so far. I don't know if the staff did enough to replace those 2 big holes that they lost. I think, in theory, you get the Sarah Scalia replacement, you get the Mackenzie Holmes replacement, but you didn't get a star. You got the pieces that you can say, yeah, these are the 2 positions, but you did not get either of those players of the same caliber.
Yeah, we'll see how long it takes into the season before that new star for them this season is born. You all mentioned it. Kelsey, I'm going to you with this next question. You lose Mackenzie Holmes. You lose Sarah Scalia. What does this team need to do to adjust to those 2 massive losses, and how long do you think that adjustment period is going to take?
So this is something that all of us who work on the beat have been talking about, and I'll credit Alex Hines for this. Obviously, they miss Mackenzie and they miss Sarah for their scoring, right? But I think what they miss more is their ability to break up other teams' runs. When teams go on runs, they had Scalia and they had Mackenzie Holmes to stop those runs. And right now, Indiana's still trying to figure out who's going to be their person. So I agree with you, Talia, in the sense that when Yarden's playing her best and when Chloe Moore McNeil is that aggressive, gritty player that Hoosier fans know her to be. I think that they're going to be in a better position, but her shots need to fall. Caroline Striplin needs to play well.
Lily Meister.
Lily Meister needs to play well in the paint. So I feel like it's a lot more of a moving puzzle than it was when Mac and Scalia were here.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be interesting to see how long that adjustment takes, and as they kind of go on. Talia, you already mentioned it. They're not going to be consistent, but maybe they can kind of find some sort of consistency before conference play. If not, conference play might be the trial by fire that they need to finally figure that part of it out. Speaking of the Big Ten Conference, Ari, you bring in USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. What excites you most about the new Big Ten Conference? And then to follow up with that, what are the challenges you think Indiana's going to face when they take on teams like a USC and a UCLA this season?
Yeah, overall, what an exciting time for women's basketball and what an exciting time for the Big Ten. I mean, you can't even lie that when Juju Watkins is going to step on Assembly Hall's court, that it won't be an exciting time for
awesome.
Indiana basketball to have her here. So I think for women's basketball as a whole and for a fan base, this will be a great opportunity to bring more star power to the Big Ten and see those matchups with Ohio State, a UCLA you imagine, or a USC and an Indiana you may have not thought you'd ever see. So for me, that's what excites me the most. Also just, the player performance. I can't wait to see what these players are like at Assembly Hall. And moving on to that, Indiana with USC and UCLA, it might be an interesting draw from all the points we've all made about, they're not consistent yet. They don't have the star power. They don't have the shooter like, UCLA is going to bring, and obviously USC with Juju. But I do think Indiana has one superpower, which is the six-man, the Assembly Hall crowd. And they did it in the Iowa game. It seemed impossible, but they defeated Caitlin Clark. They shut her out. They used their defense to really navigate the floor. If they can figure things out beyond the three-point line, they could be dangerous, at least in one of those games.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a reason why Assembly Hall has become one of the toughest places to play in college women's hoops. Very exciting time down here in Bloomington for sure. Talia, a little bit of a different question for you. There were several newcomers, obviously, that were welcomed to the team this offseason, primarily Shea Chesky from Penn State. But I'm curious, from your perspective, do you think she's going to be the most impactful? If not, who is going to be that most impactful newcomer? And what, from your recruiting perspective and your recruiting mind, working for On3, what is the state of Indiana women's basketball recruiting, in your opinion, right now?
Yeah, I'll start with Shea. I do think she's going to be the most impactful addition. I don't know if she'll be Sarah Scalia, but I think just based on the fact that she's earned that starting role right now and she has the potential to be a lightning rod from three, right? Like we've seen a season at Penn State where she shot over 40% from deep. And so if she's able to get some of that back, similar to a Yarden Gerzon, if they're able to get that shot, I think she will be very impactful. On the recruiting front, this was my first, full cycle of covering recruiting. And there was some frustration among Indiana fans, more than most fan bases, I would say, of not seeing Terry Morin and the Hoosiers recruiting the top kids, even the top kids in Indiana. I was surprised they didn't go after someone like the Lampley twins, who one of them, the older one, just went to Mississippi State. Like, I'm surprised they're not. They're recruiting well in the Midwest, but I'm surprised they're not narrowing it down more to the top Indiana kids. And I'm just, you're not seeing, and I think this is part of what Terry Morin wants to do, right? She's not handing out offers like candy. She's not. Yep. She's looking for the right kids, but I think based on the national landscape and who's getting who right now, she may have to rethink that strategy if she wants to maintain the level of success that she has right now.
Well, and she's certainly built this program up to be one of the top contending programs in the nation, not just in the Big Ten anymore. So that's a big selling point moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, I'm going to ask you guys to look way ahead into the future. It's kind of an unfair question, but it's a fun one to ponder. We're going to go to the end of the Big Ten tournament next year in 2025. Who's in the tournament championship game, and who's going to win the Big Ten tournament? We'll start there.
This is a toss-up. Sorry.
Name drop. We love it.
Sorry. But, I think we all can agree who one of the teams is most likely going to be, and that's USC. They lost some vets, but they still have so much talent. Top freshman class in the nation. They have Juju. They have Kiki. They have Ryan Marshall. I don't doubt that they will be in the Big Ten championship. I think I kind of was trying to move away from the top two and not pick two California teams. I think if Cody McMahon stays healthy, which it seems like right now she's going to be okay, I think that Ohio State has a big chance of making it far in the tournament.
If she's healthy, she's one of the most dominant players in the nation, hands down.
Well, and
It's
we
not
saw
even
it.
close.
We saw it when Indiana played Ohio State.
Yep.
It was crazy. And so
Yeah.
to think that she's had that whole year of development, I
It's a
think
little scary.
she's gonna. Yeah, I think so. I think so. So those are my 2 picks. I think USC wins.
Okay, so you got USC, Ohio State, USC wins. Ari.
You know, Kelsey,
2 great minds think alike.
you know, Kelsey and I always say we have similar takes on things when we cover the sport. But, you know, I'm going to change it up. Since you said
Okay.
USC, I'm going to say maybe an upset pick. Why don't we go Ohio State, UCLA? I agree.
Okay.
Connie McMahon, if she's healthy and she's playing her best basketball, I mean, she's averaging 17.3 points a game so far, she will be lethal in the Big Ten tournament. And when I traveled there last year and watched them play, the way they have a scrappy defense, they're, you know, resilient. They don't stop. I could see them making a deep run into this and making it to the final. And then, you know, UCLA, they're averaging 92 points a game. I think they also will be, you know, lethal in the Big Ten, a California team new to the Big Ten. But I have hope that they will make it to there and then win it.
Talia.
I'm going to be different here, just for fun. I'm going to be really different. I'm going to give some off-kilter answers here. I'm going to say USC. I think they will be. At that point in time, I think they'll be the best team in the country. I think they'll make it to the final. But I'm between 2 teams for my other spot, and they're both ones that you would not necessarily expect. My first one is Michigan. I've been very impressed with Michigan
I
so
looked
far.
at that one.
Wolverines?
I did too.
I've been very impressed with Michigan so far. Freshman Silah Swords, I think, has the potential to be the best freshman in the country, not just the
Agreed.
Big Ten,
Wow.
in the country. Watching them against South Carolina, that's the worst I've seen South Carolina play, and they were able to do that. And she's just a freshman. Kim Barnes-Origo, she lost 6 players to the transfer portal. They graduated 2 of their top 4 scorers. They're starting 3 freshmen right now, and look what they're able to do. I continue to be so impressed with her coaching, and I think these freshmen have the potential to grow so much by that point. So that's why I'll say Michigan. But my runner-up pick is Oregon, which is another one that I wouldn't expect to say, but they just pulled off the upset against Baylor. Deja Kelly's there, really impressed with her, and of course the coaching, Kelly Graves.
Okay, I'm going to throw an even bigger curveball at you guys. Keep an eye on Illinois.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on Illinois. They have been oh so close the last couple of years. They upset Indiana last year on their home floor. That is a team that when they are cohesive and firing on all cylinders, they're pretty dangerous. Also, it'll be a homer pick, but I'm going Indiana. So we got Indiana, Illinois in the tournament game, and I'll say Indiana wins it just because I'm really curious to see how the other top echelon teams pace themselves out. It's a long season. It's a grind. Is everybody going to be healthy at that time? That's my question. Also, keep an eye on Maryland, too. Maryland's a team that interests me. Real quickly, NCAA tournament championship game, who wins it? I think we know what we're all going to say, but I just want to get through it real quick. Talia, go ahead.
I mean, I got to stick to my guns. I predicted it from April 22nd to now. It's USC. They're my top team in the country. I think by that point in time, they will come together. Right now, they're not there. The chemistry's not there. So many new pieces, but best freshman class in the country, best transfer class in the country. It's USC. And not South Carolina, the other one.
Well, I was also going to say USC, but, you know, to be different again,
Okay.
I'll say South Carolina. They have the confidence. They had that undefeated season. They have the best coach, you know, arguably in women's basketball, if you're not saying Terry Morin. But but overall, I think this team, you know, they might lose a couple of games, but I think during tournament play, when you have, you know, such a coach who's victorious in so many situations, that they can play the long ball.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with both of you, honestly. I'll just take another one for fun. I would not be surprised if UConn goes all the way.
Keep an eye on Paige Beckers.
Paige
Paige
Beckers,
Beckers.
she has
Yeah.
been at it for so
Yes, she
long.
has.
Gino is a great coach. He's a storied coach. The program's storied. Playing at UConn is incredibly difficult. Do I think they'll win it all? Maybe not, but I think that they have a good shot.
Okay, it's selfishly, because I just want to see this game, USC, South Carolina.
Yeah.
I just want to
Oh,
see
that's
that
the
for
best
all
game
the
ever.
marbles. That's like, that would be all the Avengers assembling
Battle of
together
the
and going
USCs.
against each. It'd be the battle probably of the century.
Everyone would be
potentially.
so confused looking at that title card.
Yes, it would.
I would be
Yes, it
confused. I'd be like, okay.
Be like, which one's which here? And just to kind of see like who would win that bout. I think South Carolina wins it because Dawn Staley is the best coach in college women's hoops, and it's really not close. And so I think the South Carolina dynasty continues. But stick around, guys, because we're looking a little bit more into the future as well, picking some of the biggest games of the upcoming season after the break. We've got picks and predictions for you. We'll be right back.
The Toss-Up, Fridays on IUSTV.
Welcome back to the Women's Hoops Toss-Up. It's time for Precarious Predictions. Here's how it works. Each panelist will be giving their picks for some of the biggest games of the season. Will they be right? Will they be wrong? Only time will tell. Kelsey, you are up first. This weekend, November 23rd, Notre Dame at USC. Come on.
All right. I'm a little scared for this one. Did I make you scared? We've been talking about it for the past hour. Because it's going to be a close game. And to have a test like this so early in the season for both teams is going to be crazy. They're both undefeated. They both have dominant wins. I think talent-wise, USC is above Notre Dame, and I think playing at home is going to help them. I'm going to take USC.
It's going to be such a fun game.
It's going to be so good. It's going to be so close. So, I don't know.
And then we get this game the very next day, Ari, November 24th, South Carolina at UCLA.
I personally know I will be sitting on my couch watching this one like a nail biter. You know, South Carolina, again, I picked them to be the team to win it all. I'm going to say this again. I think they're going to beat UCLA, but I don't think UCLA is going to go down without a fight. Like I said earlier, they are coming together and playing great, averaging really high numbers at point-wise. Both teams are undefeated. It's going to be a great matchup, but like I said, Dawn Stanley is on top.
Talia, December 5th, Texas at Notre Dame.
Riley, I'm going to be there.
I know.
I'm going to be there. I'm so
It's
excited.
perfect. So
I
there
think
you
it
go.
could be the best game of the season. I'm going to be there. I'm so excited. No, it's tough because I think you have the best backcourt in the country with Notre Dame. You have Olivia Miles and Hannah Hidalgo. Olivia Miles returning for the first time in 300 and something days, and she's one of the best players in the country. But then you look at Texas, and you're like, Rory Harmon, Madison Booker, Layla Felia. Oh, my goodness. So it's a tough one, but I think home court advantage will do it in this one. It's Notre Dame.
Kelsey, you mentioned this team in the A block, December 21st, USC at UConn. Wow.
I have all day USC. I've been talking to USC.
Yep.
But I think, like I said earlier, UConn is a really hard place to play basketball. And I think USC is not going to have too many opportunities, realistically, to be upset this year. I think UConn can do it.
UConn can do it. Paige Beckers.
At home.
There we go. Yeah.
That's the biggest.
Yeah,
that's the
thing.
biggest
Yes.
contingent.
Neutral site. Who
I
wins?
think they can compete. Neutral site. Who wins? Okay, that wasn't the question. That one would be a little trickier.
Yes.
For all purposes, I'll take UConn. I think they will give USC a run for their money.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be another fun game, and we'll keep moving on with this stack slate. Ari, you're into 2025.
Yes, we
January 12th, Texas at South Carolina.
Okay, so we also were talking about this one before. Talia was kind of like changing my mind a little bit, which is crazy. Normally, I'm pretty set in my opinions. It's Texas, and South Carolina, two powerhouses, two top 5 teams in the nation currently. I'm going to say that Texas is going to give South Carolina a great run for their money. I mean, they have a great team, a great coach, Vic Schaefer, one of the best in the country as well. You have Taylor Jones averaging 15.3 points, 6.3 rebounds. Madison Booker also playing out of her mind. So It just kind of depends who's healthy and what it looks like. But I also think playing at home at South Carolina, it's going to be hard to upset a team in their home court.
Talia, January 19th, a game that we're going to get treated to just in the backyard here, a couple minutes away. USC at IU.
I hate to say it, I'm so sorry, Indiana fans. I'm so sorry, but it's USC. I'm sorry. Juju Watkins is coming to town, and the Hoosiers are pretty familiar with someone named Kiki Iriafen.
Yeah,
they played her last year when she was at Stanford. Now she's at USC, and she had a 20-plus point double-double against the Hoosiers last year, and I think she'll do it again. And you got Juju Watkins, you got Talia Van Olhoff, and you got Kennedy Smith. You have the best freshman class in the country. Kelsey has been rambling about it all night, and that's all you need to go back and listen to her, and that's why USC is going to win.
It's going to be a close game. I got $10 riding on it. Anyway, last time through February 2nd, Kelsey, TCU at Iowa State. We got to give a little bit of love to these two teams. TCU, they got HVL now.
Yeah, and Iowa State gave everyone a run for their money last year. Listen, I think we've been talking a lot about healthy players. This game is going to be determined by who is healthy. If Sedona Prince stays healthy, if Haley Van Lith stays on her game, Madison Connor stays hot, TCU has a good chance at winning, but they also have a not great record of playing on the road.
Yeah.
You have Audie Crooks. You have Addie Brown, some of the sharpest shooters in the league. I take Iowa State at home.
Ari, February 5th, Ohio State at UCLA.
Ooh, I'm like loving this matchup because it's an original Big Ten team with a newcomer. You know, it would be really great if Indiana could go to UCLA, but it's really interesting that Ohio's going. I think, like I said earlier, if Cotty McMahon is going to be playing her best and she's not injured, she will lead Ohio State to a great game of basketball. But I also think when you go to UCLA, you go to California, you have that time difference that they're going to have a little upper edge. They've been playing great basketball, and then you have Lauren Betts, who's been playing out of her mind. That's going to be hard to beat. So I'm going to go with UCLA.
Talia, take us home February 16th. If you didn't think it could get any better, it can. UConn at South Carolina.
This is my this is my toss-up one for me. It really is right now at this moment in time in my top 25. These are my top 2 teams based on what they've done so far. We just saw UConn notch a win over UNC, and South Carolina's notch wins over Michigan and NC State. And both teams are just so impressive this year. I'm gonna go with the Gamecocks in this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to
I'm
bet
gonna do
against South Carolina. Talia, Ari, Kelsey, thank you guys so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
It's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens and how all these teams shake out come March in 2025. That'll do it for the show this week. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to continue the discussion and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports. And give our Toss-Up socials a follow on those same platforms as well. It's a new era of women's college basketball, and you won't want to miss a single second of it. With that, there's one thing left to do, so toss it up. Find out if our predictions were correct. And as always, we'll see you next week. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. God bless.